Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Brooke and you are watching another episode of Should I Read... The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a favorite of mine, so right away I want to let you know this is absolutely going to be a love review. Like, I'm 100% in love with this story. So let's get right into it. It's been a moment now since I've read the story, but I just want to get on here and talk about it because I know it is super popular right now with the movie, and so I know a lot of people are then wondering, well, should I read the book? Is it worth it? And I'm going to be going in and telling you this as somebody who has not seen the movie yet, so I am not going to be biased based on what the movie shows. I really don't know how close it is to being accurate. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it's pretty close because the Hunger Games movies, the original movies, were very, very close to those stories. And I read all of those and then I watched all of those and I really loved them. I thought they were fantastic. I think that the Hunger Games is a really unique and important story. I think it's just wonderful. And I think there are a lot of layers to it. And so for this newish book to come out, I mean, it's been years now, so let's not pretend like it's totally new, but this newish book to come out, I think was just wonderful. I was super excited when I heard it was coming out. I got it instantly, and then I read it a couple times for sure because I just adored it. I adore it. So one of the main things that got me right away is I love a good villain origin story. Okay, I know sometimes on this channel I will kind of bash the bad guys, but I do love a good villain origin story. I do enjoy a good villain. The only times I don't enjoy villains really are when they are portrayed as, well, they're not actually bad guys. You know, they're a little bit misunderstood. Like, no, if somebody's bad, you know, if somebody's a real bad guy, like Snow, okay, he's bad. Like, if you read through his entire, like, growing up, what made him the way he is, he's still bad. It was just super interesting, okay? It's like the Joker. He's still bad, but you know why he is the way he is. You know? You know what I'm saying? So, absolutely loved the idea of getting a peek behind what made him like he is, because I always like seeing that, because people are super creative, especially a really, really good author like Collins. I love seeing how creative they are with what got this villain from point A to point B, because oftentimes there will be this, you know, either it's one of two things. One, there is absolutely no explanation, they're just bad, which can work, but I feel like it only works to a certain extent because you can't have any kind of empathy or even an understanding of what's going on with them. And number two is there's just this weird backstory that you know was made up at the last minute because it doesn't make any sense. And I hate that maybe even more than the ones who just say, oh, he was just born evil, you know? So this coming from this kind of person, I really liked this. It's, you know, probably above 5 stars if I could put it above 5 stars. I definitely would. Goodreads does not allow that, which I think is kind of sad because I think that you should be able to do like a 5+ if it's just like one of the best things you've ever read. But it's okay. That's just a suggestion. If anybody from Goodreads is watching this, that's just a suggestion for you. Now, getting into what was done so well. I think that having Snow, or Choreo, as they call him, having him and then Tigress be so close so that you can see the kind of relationship, familial relationship he has with somebody is really smart. I think that is one of the best things about the book, is being able to see him in kind of a domestic setting, even though he instantly goes into, like, it's not like a whole domestic book. It is not, you know, A Court of Frost and Starlight. If any of you have read ACOTAR, you know what I'm talking about. It's not one of those where it's just like a whole book of like, oh, domestic snow things. It's not that. It's just actually quite exciting right away. But you get to see those moments that are kind of, here's him at home, here's just him having a conversation with somebody like a normal person. doing non-evil things sometimes. And so that gives me a lot of understanding for him. If not empathy, then it's just the understanding, which I think is nice, because I like to know, what made somebody like this. Do I even understand how they got from here to here? Does it make sense to me? And for him, yeah, it kind of does make sense to me. I certainly wouldn't advocate for that, but I get it. I understand. Another part of the story that is so wonderful is Lucy. I think she is just so, so fun and such a great female main character to have, because even though it is really Snow's book, it is also very much Lucy's book. She is very important and she has so much oomph in her, if you know what I mean. The way I like to describe it is she has muchness. I think that is from Alice in Wonderland, that she has muchness, but I really think she does. I think she has a lot of muchness. She just has a lot of personality, a lot of strength, and just she loves who she is, even though she is not at the top of the food chain when it comes to, the Capitol and the Hunger Games and the districts. She's definitely not at the top of it, but she still loves who she is and where she comes from. And I really like that about her. And she also is just such a fun character. Like, I think that if I met her in real life, I would probably be like, she's kind of annoying. But to read about a character like that in a book, she's just phenomenal. She makes for a very, very good one of the main characters. And then another character that I really, really enjoyed was Sejanus. I think he was written so perfectly to be the perfect kind of sympathetic character who you just instantly understand and you instantly feel for. At least that was me when I read it. I just right away, I was like, I love this character. I really feel for him. I want him to be okay. Give him everything he wants. If he needs this, just give him this. He knows what he needs. That kind of thing. So he's just very, very, endearing. And there was a perfect mix of characters that have the muchness factor, and then characters who are just very sweet. And so you're really rooting for a variety of characters here. And at some points I found myself rooting for Snow, and then I was like, hold on. But there is really a lot to the story too, beyond just the characters. It is, I would say, both character driven and plot driven, because obviously there is the Hunger Games, so that would be the plot that is driving it forward. But also there are the characters where I would venture to say that if they weren't positioned in this story exactly as they were, nothing would have ended up anything like it did. So for that reason, I really enjoyed the idea of balancing out who is driving the book forward. Is it just the plot? Is it just the characters? Or is it a combination? And I really like when authors can turn it into a combination, because then I feel like that is the most exciting book possible, is something that is both plot and character driven. Something else that I want to point out about Suzanne Collins' writing that I feel I always must point out when I talk about her is she has a way of writing a book that makes you almost unable to set it down. I know that people say that about a lot of books, but this is truly a case where I feel it is very, very, very true. The second I picked up The Hunger Games, and I picked up that book and I could not set it down. I then immediately went on, the books had already been out when I started reading them, and so I immediately picked up Catching Fire, and then after that I immediately picked up Mockingjay. And I remember I even was on a road trip with my family when I was reading Mockingjay, and I brought it with me, and I was sitting on a bed in a little cabin up north reading the ending of it and bawling my eyes out. I remember that. So this really had that very same effect on me, reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It just went straight into, from the very first page, a story that I could not put down, that I just wanted to keep reading, that I wanted to read again once I was done. She just does a very, very good job of bringing the reader in and then keeping you there, reminding you how important the story is without being too obvious about it, without saying, some young adult novels will do the thing where every other page they're reminding you it's either this or death, this is so important, this is, the entire universe depends on this. She doesn't do the ultimatum kind of stuff, but she still makes her stories feel so important and so like, this is it, this has to work out a certain way. And I think that is the number one quality that makes it so fun to read her stories and makes them unputdownable, I would say. Now, finally, I do want to say I do plan on reading... That's not what I meant to say. Now, finally, I do want to say I plan on watching this movie as soon as I can. My family got a little bit sick lately, and so all of our movie-going plans were just thrown out the window because of that. So I do plan on seeing this as soon as I possibly can, which might actually be at home. I don't know. I have a lot going on, but I can't wait to see it. I know when I first saw the casting, I thought that it looked phenomenal. I don't know his name, but the guy who was cast to play Snow looks perfect. Tigress, perfect. I just think that it looks like it's probably a very good rendition of this. I'm really hoping it's going to be book accurate because I can't judge based on whether people look good for the part or whether they can act it. You have to look at the whole thing, as a whole, whether it works. So that can't really be judged off of one person, two people, or even a whole cast if the movie is not written right. So I'm really hoping that it stays loyal to the book. And I'm hoping that if you were on the fence about reading this book, that this maybe helped you a little bit. If you're a Hunger Games fan, I would so encourage you to read this. Even if you are a little different than me, you don't love villain origin stories, I would still say this is definitely worth a read. Because if you don't love the villain origin story part, there's still the whole Lucy Gray part, which is so much fun. And I really just love her. So I want to thank you so much for listening in today. Thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate a like and for you to hit that subscribe button as well. And I would also like to remind you that I do have a couple books of my own. They are young adult thrillers, and the first of the duology is called The Half Theft. So if those are something that you think you might be interested in, you can go look in the description and there will be links for those as well. Just thank you so much for listening in today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.